In the second half of the 2000s, I was an edgy teenager, and as such, I had declared myself an atheist. I went online in search of atheist content, and surely enough I found it. It was the Atheist Experience on YouTube, a show where Christians can call in and have debates with...
Oh my god, this is literally what I've told you guys about, like, the alt-right radicalization pipeline. So many people went from, like, being just, like, Reddit atheists to, like, Sam Harris to then, like, weirdo Islamophobes that hated the Obama administration and became like anti-SJWs.
Real atheists. It was fun to listen to, and I felt more validated and smarter after each episode, so naturally I wanted more. And so I came across this guy right here. DJ Kirk, the amazing atheist. The OG YouTube skeptic, at least for me. And the main gist of his content early on at least was opposing American fundamentalist Christians, who actually used to be a presence on YouTube back then, believe it or not. And by that I mean people producing content which was solely focused on Christianity. Not long after I came across Thunderfoot with his series about creationism, and Pat Condell, one of the best atheist orators on YouTube at the time. And then Armored Skeptic at some point.
I've talked about this a bunch of times, but it bears repeating. So many Reddit atheists that are, you know, that were part of the skeptic community went from like dunking on creationism and dunking on the Bush era policies. Kyle Kalinske was one of the very few that never fully turned heel and became like a full-blown reactionary. Kyle Kalinske was one of those atheists as well, which is why I have a lot of respect for him. Most of these people that he's showing absolutely coincided or at least like aligned themselves with a lot of anti-SJW stuff. And I point to one single instance for a lot of older people, who like are now boomers almost. The Sam Harris Cenk Uygur debate. There was a 3-hour debate between Sam Harris and Cenk that revolved around Obama's policies and tolerance towards Islam in general and refugees from like Muslim countries in general. And of course, as some of you already know, some of you might not know, Sam Harris had incredibly reactionary points of view, which I think has like scaled back for the profit motive in recent years. But Cenk, of course, sided, despite the fact that he himself is a bit of an edgy atheist. Cenk, of course, was defending, you know, Muslims and refugees as a whole, whereas Sam Harris was like, absolutely not, you're fucking psycho, whatever, you guys are fake progressives. We are the real progressives for being Islamophobic. And I remember that was like the thing, that was the attitude back then, where a lot of people would say, I'm a real progressive, you're a fake progressive. I'm a real progressive because I don't like Islam, I hate Islam, I think that Islam is like conservative as fuck, and all Muslims are conservative. Like a bunch of other things that people used to say, like, for example, how could I be racist? Islam is a religion, lol, like as though it's not racialized. Now, so many of you probably also found yourselves on that pipeline, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, if you're in here, then you have escaped that attitude, right? Like you've probably grown. There are others that still fucking go back to that whenever we talk about Muslims or anything like that. There's still a lot of I see that edginess manifest in this community. And yeah, and they would say regressive left. So during that Sam Harris Cenk debate, something changed. That debate was seen by millions of people, which was huge at the time. And what ended up happening was, more importantly than anything else, more importantly than like people changing their attitudes or like battle lines being drawn, Joseph Robinette Rogan, who used to absolutely love Cenk, chose the side of Sam Harris because he loves pseudo-intellectuals that speak in like a neutral tone and, you know, are just doing simply objective analysis and are just asking some questions or absolutely relying on the pre-existing biases that you may have in your fucking primal lizard brain, you know, appealing to the vulnerabilities and your fears that you may have about the unknown. So Joe Rogan used to be a huge TYT fan. He used to come to TYT all the time. He had Cenk on. He had Anna on regularly. I met Joe Rogan because of the relationship that he had with the Young Turks back in the day. It was wonderful. I was a huge fucking fan of Joe Rogan too. After that, like, breakup, basically, where battle lines were drawn and like people who consider themselves to be liberal but very reactionary when it came to Islam, and those who were liberal and not as reactionary when it came to Islam, Joe Rogan sided with the reactionary Sam Harris and his kind. And basically, that was when he started having like more right-wing guests on, like more and more right-wing guests on. And I'm saying this as like basically a fucking historian of this because I was a huge Joe Rogan fan back in the day. As a matter of fact, my Joe Rogan fandom is the reason why I knew about Milo Yiannopoulos before anyone else and even told Cenk about it before he popped off, because before he blew up, he was on the Joe Rogan show. A bunch of right-wing commentators blew up on the Joe Rogan show, some of which became like literal fucking Nazis. So there is an alternative universe out there where Joseph Robinette Rogan sided with Cenk and is like an annoying fucking lib, but still, you know what I mean? A liberal, progressive person overall. And I dream about that alternative universe. Anyway, let's keep going.
Along with a few others I cannot really recall anymore. At that time, anti-religious content was the bread and butter of the YouTube skeptosphere. Up until around the early 2010s, I should say, where all of their contents pretty much at the same time started shifting towards a certain direction. Skepticism against Christianity started fading into the background. And I mean, no wonder, the well wasn't that deep. There was a finite amount of arguments in favor of Christianity, and it wasn't the brightest people making them, so long story short, the YouTube skeptosphere had to look for new content. And guess what? They fucking found it. The new targets became feminism and progressivism, and sometimes Islam. Every single YouTube skeptic I was following started making video after video after video about feminism, progressivism, weird posts on Tumblr. That became the sole focus of their content. And, as an edgy teenager, I fucking loved it. It was a lot of fun to watch them go against these purple hair, screeching, man-hating, fun-ruining feminist types. And then came this little-known event called Gamergate, which saw these content creators just catapulted into space in terms of views. Entire reactionary channels grew out of this, just by doing anti-feminist pro-Gamergate content, including our friend Sargon of Akkad, whom I found during that time and so became a fan of his. However, the content these people produced soon started to shift. We went from, haha, these dumb feminists, to our entire existence is now under threat by these feminists. We have swung too far to the left and now we have to immediately course correct back towards the center. They want to end sexual dimorphism. They want to end masculine men and feminine women. They want to turn us all into these pudgy, non-gender specific blobs who will live out their miserable, depressed life because they are forced to act contrary to their own nature in this ultra-PC hell that we're constructing, that is flowing out of these SJW-infested universities, which are now basically these progressive indoctrination centers. If you let them win.
For the record, that, and many of you who have been in here for a long enough time know that that kind of commentary is not new. It's just what the Nazis used to do when they would talk about cultural Bolshevism. Like, that is the exact, and they literally don't say cultural Bolshevism, they just say cultural Marxism. So whenever someone like, tries to sell you on that repackaged, reseasoned Nazi argument that like colleges are a bastion of liberalism and they're trying to destroy Western civilization, remember that like the Nazis came up with that. And it's fucking ridiculous. But it actually does not matter. And at the time, I always thought it was so fucking stupid because it's like, okay, well, have you seen a fucking econ class? Like, whenever people would say like, oh, dude, college campuses, like, they make you liberal. It's like, no, they make you neoliberal, certainly. But like, have you been to the business side of any school? Have you ever been to, I don't know, any like econ class whatsoever? There is no fucking socialism there. There's neoliberalism there, but there is no socialism being taught there. I mean, it's outside. Like, Marxian economics is outside. It's considered heterodox thinking. It's not literally a part of the curriculum that only features neoclassical econ, which is also another hilarious concept, because people always point to Yale and Harvard as like bastions of liberalism or socialism. And I find it really funny because those are literally direct pipelines to the fucking CIA and the State Department in general. So no, they are not even remotely fucking, they're not even liberal. They're like building neocons. Okay? And they get fat fucking endowments from billionaires and the think tanks that they run so that they can continue promoting this agitative propaganda. That is precisely why I always got so frustrated with this attitude that people used to have.
You will not see any more hot women or masculine men. They say it's sexist. We know it's normal. What do? The left has simply flung too far. I mean, hey, we're classical liberals, we believe in the meritocracy, we believe in colorblindness. I guess our only choice now is conservatism. If you are a classical liberal, a centrist, you have to vote for conservatives to try and drag the liberal left back towards the center from this insanity. This is where I was, along with millions of others.
It's such a perfect grift.
Without me noticing, this anti-feminist, anti-SJW classical liberal content had managed to implant this debilitating fear inside me. I honestly felt attacked, really, under siege. Skeptics told me that feminists think that my masculinity is toxic. What? That's not true. I'm just a normal guy. I'm not toxic. My god, these feminists are insane. What's this? They're now harassing some kind of old Canadian college professor or something? Jesus, that's terrible. As time went...
Another thing. This man that you see before you, a charlatan who got fucking owned by drinking apple cider.
Again, I'm not a nutritionist either. But what's fascinating to me is I haven't heard any negative stories about people doing this.
Well, I have a negative story.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things that both Michaela and I noticed was that when we restricted our diet and then ate something we weren't supposed to, the reaction to eating what we weren't supposed to was absolutely catastrophic.
What did you do? What did you switch to? Or what did you eat, rather?
Well, the worst response, I think we're allergic to, or allergic, whatever the hell this is, having an inflammatory response to something called sulfites. And we had some apple cider that had sulfites in it, and that was really not good. Like, I was done for a month. That was the first time I talked to Sam Harris.
You were done for a month?
Oh, yeah. It took me out for a month. It was awful.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say,
so this is right before this whole truth conversation with Sam Harris that got stuck in the mud. During.
So I think the day I talked to Sam was like the worst day of my life. Not because of talking to Sam, but it was
just physically.
Oh, Jesus, I was so dead. But I didn't want to not do it. Because
apple cider, like what was it doing?
Sulfites in it.
What was it doing to you?
Oh, it produced an overwhelming sense of impending doom. And I seriously mean overwhelming. Like, there's no way I could have lived like that if that would have lasted for... See, Michaela knew by that point that it would probably only last a month, and I was like...
A month?
Yeah,
from
a month.
Fucking cider?
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible? That
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Not
and
good.
This is from fucking cider. From cider.
That's what we thought, yeah.
Is only famous because he misrepresented a pre-existing law that was turning into a federal law in such a horrifying way that the Canadian Bar Association had to literally just like release numerous fucking memos about to correct the fucking mistake that Jordan Peterson did in the Canadian media for over a year. C66 was what it was called, right? Wasn't that what it was? That like the classification of like or still C16, sorry, not 66. C16 was now going to be considered a C16 bill was actually a local law that already existed in many different municipalities in Canada that already had a robust anti-hate crime legislation and rules, unlike the United States of America. And the only thing that ended up happening was that transphobia was included on Bill C-16. But I decided that it was unacceptable to ask me not to be transphobic. So I started telling everyone that would listen that I would go to jail if a trans student asked me to correctly gender them. And basically, that is what happened. But Mr. Meat Eater here basically just fucking became like this massive, massive fucking phenomenon that I think if he wasn't like near death, he probably still would be gigantic. Like if he hadn't slipped into a fucking coma because like, I don't know, he got addicted to benzos or something, because I don't know if he cleaned his room or not. Probably didn't. Didn't he say how he would call someone their preferred pronoun? Yeah, he said that, and then also said the opposite, and literally went on news media regularly to say trans women are not women. So,
do you think a trans woman is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. You know, I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, you know, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
like, just because he said, yes, I would call someone by their preferred pronoun one time doesn't mean anything when, you know, his main jealousy is a disease, get well soon, bitch. Yeah, so is having an unrecoverable addiction to benzos that you fucking almost get experimental treatment in Russia, and then once you're finally out of a fucking coma, that your daughter gives you COVID immediately afterwards. So, you know, that's a recoverable disease too. So, guys, my friend sent me a SJW cringe compilation, and he says it's becoming the new norm. It seems eerily familiar than what the video says. Now, SJW comps are no longer like the fucking new norm. Now it's like, maybe there's more stuff about socialism, you know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, Marx is socialist. Like, these guys are fucking idiots, whatever. But ultimately, there is definitely a robust anti-SJW movement on YouTube. Literally all of the good essayists, every single one of the good essayists are HasanAbi heads and they're fucking community members. Like, literally all of them, dude. Every single one. Every time we watched another YouTube essay guy, we click on his fucking Twitter and he follows me. That is unheard of. That never, ever would have happened 10 years ago. That never would have happened 5 years ago. Like, all of the fucking best, funniest essay guys now are younger and also straight up like either social democrat or socialist. Because you weren't streaming 5 years ago? Okay, well, I was still fucking... Wait, what do you mean? I was still an online political figure, though. And I don't mean this to say this is my impact, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all, okay? If anything, it's this community's impact, but that's not even what I'm saying. I'm just using that as a metric. Because, like, you know, 2017, 2016, or like the heat of Gamergate, every single fucking big top essayist on YouTube would have been like, oh, fuck this guy, the Young Turks, Chunk Yogurt, fuck you. And now, all of the ones that haven't actually, you know, rationalized and de-radicalized, all of the ones that haven't de-radicalized from the old guard are just basically either fucking Nazis and, or are just completely irrelevant. Well, and the Nazis are irrelevant too, but still. So it is really interesting to see all of this. Not to put down the work Uncle Chunk has done, but you were much more visible and accessible than TYT content. Yes, I know, because I stream for fucking 10 hours a day. I have a significantly better understanding of the internet and memes than he does. He's fucking 55 years old, bro. Of course. And no, it wasn't me. It was fucking Bernie Sanders before anything else. So I think that's like really silly that people think that it's that I had anything to do with it. It's Bernie Sanders had significantly more to do with like an actual growth and momentum in democratic socialism as a movement in this country. So, you know, anyone that fucking argues against that is delusional. Let's keep going.
Professor or something? Jesus, that's terrible. As time went on, I sank deeper and deeper into essentially doomerism, and consequently I was listening to more and more Sargon of Akkad. But something was bugging me about him. Something was wrong. The things he said, the arguments he made, just started ringing increasingly hollow. He sounded more and more like those Christians back in the day, making the exact same arguments over and over again, just perhaps dressed up a bit differently each time. I mean, it felt like Groundhog Day. At that point I still wasn't a leftist, and if you ask me I would have told you I am a classical liberal. But that bugging feeling was there, the exact same feeling I had back in the day when I first started doubting Christianity. So I took a deep breath, went back on YouTube, and searched for something like Sargon of Akkad debunked or something. I was interested to see—
You're saying the environment for someone like you to exist didn't exist 5 years ago, you're successful because the environment now is different because Bernie Sanders happened? Yeah, but also at the same time, like, I literally didn't stop. Even when there wasn't an environment for me, I still fucking, you know, kept hammering it. Which is why I always find it fucking hilarious whenever I had to be that guy, but didn't he also have a part in that because he was the first guy to shit on right-wingers in debates? I didn't know about Destiny until I got on Twitter, I got on Twitch, but yeah, I think he definitely played a good role too in like dismantling some of these fucking idiotic ideas, which ironically he now, like when it comes to left-wingers, literally does the exact same argument. Like put a fucking Sargon of Akkad video next to a Destiny video when he's criticizing a leftist. It's exactly the same. I'm sorry. Like he has great takes on, you know, anti-vaxxers and stuff like that, but straight up literally the same now. It's so weird. Like arguments that he has advocated against regularly back in the day too. Anyway, so as I was saying, that's why I always find it fucking hilarious whenever people are like, dude, oh my God, you're such a fucking grifter. You're such a fucking grifter, dude. Like, I can't believe how much of a fucking grifter you are, Hasan. Like, you're doing such a profitable thing by making money off of like promoting anti-capitalist ideas. And it's like, dude, I've been doing this shit for fucking years, dude. And the fact that it's now profitable is a good thing, okay? That means that there's more people watching. It means that there's more, it's more popular, okay? So instead of fucking getting excited about that and thinking like, oh my God, like there are a lot of people who unironically believe or are aware of a different alternative way of looking at the world than instead of immediately fucking getting whiplash when they hear socialism. You're like, what the fuck? Bah, 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 bah. You're fucking stupid. Fuck you. Because if you're a leftist, that means you need to be fucking, you know, living out of a hut and streaming on stolen Wi-Fi or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Is insane. It doesn't make any sense, but also at the same time, it literally does not matter. It does not matter. It's ultimately a good thing that there are people that are out there that are capable of getting popular by spreading leftist ideas instead of like immediately fucking people being like, dude, fuck you. You're fucking communist. You're fucking socialist. Anyway,
if anyone could stand up against Sargon's ideas. And the thing about Sargon and people like him back in the day is that they absolutely dominated YouTube, at least in terms of this whole anti-SJW content and culture war. Smaller left-leaning
what Peterson was saying, that he was against legislation about speech and pronouns, dude, we're not doing this. We're not relitigating Jordan Peterson. I've talked about this a million times over.
Content creators who opposed these people were absolutely dogpiled. If you made a video against one of them, you could expect tens of thousands of dislikes, thousands of comments, people calling you all sorts of names, sending you death threats. It was fucking terrible. So the environment itself wasn't really in favor of any sort of leftist content. However, despite of this, I did manage to find two excellent content creators through that YouTube search. H-Bomber Guy and Sean. They both had videos debunking Sargon of Akkad, and they were excellent. The two videos I saw, Anti-Feminism vs. Facts and Sargon of Akkad Can't Read, suddenly gave voice to all my misgivings about Sargon. And with that, his entire
Love them, dude. Absolutely love them.
channel and content just unraveled. And for the first time, I saw him for what he really is. A confused and underinformed British middle-aged man just barking into a microphone about the exact same things for half a decade. Through Sean and H-Bomber Guy, a whole new world of content opened up for me on YouTube, leftist content mostly. And I found that these feminists I've been hearing so much about from these shouty men on YouTube were actually not evil. They didn't want to end sexual dimorphism. They didn't want to turn us into these pudgy, sad, non-gender specific blobs. I've learned about toxic masculinity. Namely, that it doesn't mean that masculinity itself is toxic, but rather that our current understanding of it has some elements that are harmful to men. And that feminists' position on toxic masculinity is actually a pro-male position. Feminists, a previously evil and insidious group of people, have become humanized in my eyes. I no longer hated them just because some people online told me that they are the enemy.
Hey there.
And with that, I was out of the matrix. My fears evaporated, and I actually became more well-balanced and confident. Looking back at all the content I used to watch, all the alt-right type content, it all looks silly in retrospect. But I now also understand much better how someone can just be stuck in it. The number one factor that keeps people there being fear. Which, coincidentally, happens to be one of the main driving forces behind modern conservatism. No wonder they found each other. As the years went by, some of these shouty men actually broke away from the alt-right, moving towards the center-left. But others, including Sargon of Akkad, have slipped deeper into it. Sargon himself became a white nationalist, and now serves as one of the many entry points for disaffected youth towards the far right. But thankfully,
I've said that's a Nazi, Richard Spencer. For those who know, I've said it over and over again. Milo, Sargon, and Lawrence Southern Gavin types can be great entry points.
I think I've managed to avoid that vortex, and now I'd like to help other people do the same. I hope that, as I put out more and more leftist content, people from these alt-right circles will be able to find me, and hopefully I'll be able to change their minds. Just like how my mind was changed.
By the way, I think one of the most hilarious parts of this, again, is how stale their fucking content got. Because that's what happens when you are the dominant idea. Like, you can't be subversive. You can only maintain that, like, subversive presence for as long as, like, you're not in power and you can fucking complain. But what murdered the anti-SJW YouTube in its entirety was Donald Trump. I mean, censorship too. Selective censorship, which was absolutely not a bad thing. Thank you, Divio, for the 5 year subs. But what absolutely destroyed anti-SJW YouTube was so many fucking people that were like finally fighting back against this shit. And also, on top of that, like, Donald Trump was president, and all of these people whose lives are fucking awful did not change. Okay? The people that were sad and desperate and doomers, their lives didn't become better, dude. Like, their lives were still just as awful. And that's when a lot of them probably realized, especially like younger generations of people, maybe not your old boomer dad who like gets a steady diet of fucking Fox News, but younger people that were on the internet in the anti-SJW pipeline literally was just like, I mean, what the fuck are we doing? We're just like still yelling at the TV like my dad is yelling at the TV, and maybe it's not the, queer, pansexual college freshman that's like getting yelled at by Ben Shapiro that's responsible for why I feel this way. Anyway.
Back in the day in light of new evidence. Or maybe I'll just get dogpiled or something, who knows. Anyway, for the time being, this far-right resurgence both on YouTube and in real life seems to have slowed down, so that's good. But still, the most important work we have right now, I feel like, is to prevent people from going down the far-right vortex. And that's what I'm going to do. Aside from making videos dunking on Elon Musk's stupid fucking ideas. First off, because I really enjoy doing them, and second, because those things pull some serious audiences, like holy shit. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little blurb from me, and if you like my content, then please consider liking and subscribing. And I'll see you when I'll see you.
Oh yeah, AdamSomething mentioned you in his community tab, plus he has a new video. Yeah, I saw that. He said he was really fucking excited that I watched and reacted to his video. Like, he was like, it's wonderful that I grew so much. And I saw that and it made me happy. Yeah, look, brief reflection of my relatively quick growth from 50K subscribers to 330K in 1 week. It's super nice to get some recognition for the work I've done so far. Even HasanAbi covered my stuff, which is neat. That being said, I will not let this... Wait, what? He grew from 50K to 330 in 1 week? What the fuck? God damn, bro. How do I grow like that? Holy shit. But yeah, even HasanAbi covered my stuff, which is neat. That being said, I will not let this influence my creative process at all. As my own rule of thumb, I'll be putting out videos only if the 2 following criteria are met. I feel like I really want to say something. I'm in the mood for making a video. He was a top post on Reddit for a day. God damn it. When I'm fucking top post on Reddit, it's like people wanting to murder me. This sucks. Have you seen the short video by the guy who made the Dubai video last week?
We have heard it.
I want to watch more of his videos. Doesn't he have an alt-right radicalization?
All these daily streams, whether big or whether small. So there he is again. The sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. You wait.